Welcome back, one and all. Right on the nose. We we began the show exactly at 4 o'clock today. Amazing. I got it right to the moment. Here we are on Johnny Torch Live, number 122. Always wanted to start exactly on time. I managed to do it this time. I'm very proud of myself if you didn't notice. But we've got a Torch News Roundup for you today. Oh, do we have a Torch News Roundup for you? Torch News Roundup number 113. Honestly, not a whole lot to talk about again. I'm gonna have to turn this show over from the Torch News Roundup to Johnny Torch's Song and Dance. Something a little bit more interesting. Some of these topics we've pretty much talked about, but there are a few things. There are a few things that are interesting, and we're gonna get to them all. First of all, though, I have to mention, check out the links in the description if you want to check me out on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter, where I'm getting into a whole host of shenanigans for your amusement. And we have my website, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Comics. Please check that out. You can see the free preview we have up of the latest installment, which is Street of Dreams. Very excited to announce that there's an important announcement that our fifth issue is still in the works, but it is getting much closer to completion. And I am going to announce the release of the cover image. I'm going to show the cover image and then maybe a couple of pages just before the book comes out for purchase. Don't want to show too much before you can actually buy the book, because I show pages 5 months in advance and people have moved on. I kind of want to show you the pictures, show you the pages, and then get you excited enough to actually purchase the book. But we're going to try to get the cover up probably within the next couple of weeks, probably sometime next month. All right, so check that out and let me know what you think if you have indeed purchased the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon series in all its different shape and form. In this case, I have to say I am exceptionally pleased with the outcome of this issue, because not only is this one of my favorite stories I've ever written. I mean, it's one of the writer's cliches, I suppose, where every story is like a child of mine, and I love them all equally, and they all have their merits and so forth. But in this case, this is really one of my favorite stories. This is one of the great things you can do when you have a hero where you have the villain team up, where you have multiple villains coming up against the protagonist. This is something that I really only waited 3 stories to get to, because it is such an exciting prospect to have Bullets Bourbon take on multiple villains. We got 3 villains in this one. As you can see, 2 of them are his arch enemies. His top nemesis, I would say, is Carrot Top, the criminal genius mastermind, and of course, Pencil Neck is the crazy and twisted serial killer that, despite his you know bizarre Looney Tune behavior, is quite cunning, as we see in this particular story. But like I said, I'm very proud of the way this issue came about, especially because I learned digital lettering. So it's going to be all digital lettering for the first time. I embraced digital coloring, of course, a couple of issues ago, so I've only gotten better at that. And the overall story is, like I said, one of my favorite that I've written. So check it out. You won't be sorry, because this is, and I can feel confident saying this is as professional a project I've ever worked on. This is as professional as it's going to get. If you feel that it's in any way below standard or subpar in some respect, then I don't know what to tell you, because apart from being a multimillionaire and being able to delegate all the jobs to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, I did this whole work by myself, and I'm very proud of learning how to master every single aspect of comic book production. And I think at this juncture, I may not have mastered it, but I had pretty much everything in control, which is about all you can ask for. So check it out, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Comics. That's it with the spiel for this week. And some people put it at the end of the broadcast. Some people put it at the beginning of the broadcast. I'd like to put it at the beginning of the broadcast. Here we are sitting atop stately Torch Tower, looking below at the fair metropolis. How's your week been, huh? Yeah, this is our second broadcast after Halloween. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, so happy Veterans Day to each and every one of you out there who have served this great nation of ours, and God bless you for doing so and being there for us, protecting our freedom. Nothing but respect for our men and women in uniform. And so we've got a couple of stories to talk about here. Let's start off. Let's get right into it now. We've got the DC Universe. The DC Universe streaming service has come out with some casting, a lot of casting in the last couple of days. Uh, Again, this is another one of those um, R-rated shows and stuff. I don't know how far this is going to go, but it does pique my interest to an extent. So we're covering the story. Although, like I said, I've never been really a diehard Swamp Thing fan. I just barely remember the TV show that was on USA back in the day when I was a teenager. I think it was on in the late 90s or something. But we have some casting news. Let's see. Henderson Wade has been cast in DC's Swamp Thing series, according to Deadline. Wade has joined the Swamp Thing series in the role of Cable. Cable is a Louisiana lawman who will be a recurring character on the show. Cable first appeared in Swamp Thing #1 in 1972 and was tasked with protecting Holland. Excuse me, Wade also recently played the role of Sheriff Michael Mineta in the CW Riverdale series, making him a solid choice for the role. Well, I don't really remember him on Riverdale, but I only seen the first season of Riverdale, so maybe that's why. And again, not terribly, I'm not terribly knowledgeable about Swamp Thing, but this next bit of news might be a little bit more interesting. We have, let's see, Virginia Madison being cast on the show. Yeah, Virginia Madison's still around. Where's she been lately? I don't know. Probably on some cable series. Is that where these, actors and actresses that were popular like in the 90s and stuff where they wind up? I don't know. She disappeared, Rebecca De Mornay, Sharon Stone. I don't know. I just think of these 90s actresses that are now sort of in their, I don't want to say golden years, but it's sort of like in the twilight of their prime, so to speak, are probably, they haven't been seen in quite a while. They're being relegated to these television series, I think. But okay, let's see. Virginia Madison is set as a key series regular opposite Crystal Reed in Swamp Thing. Madison will play Maria Sutherland, who traded in her privileged upbringing for the swamps of Maris when she married local business magnate Avery Sutherland, not yet cast. But Avery's lifetime obsession with the swamp has driven a wedge between him and Maria. Her poised existence is shaken further when the return of Abby Arcane reawakens a deep grief over the loss of Maria's daughter, Shauna, drawing her into the dark supernatural mysteries emerging from the swamp. Again, I really don't know anything about these characters, so that sounds interesting. But again, I'm not sure. Well, let us take a look now at the main topic at hand here, which is who's actually going to play Swamp Thing. And he has been cast as well, or I should say they have been cast, because apparently Swamp Thing is going to be played by a person in a costume, much like Dick Durock's version, I guess. Maybe he'll be augmented with CGI. I don't know, but that's why we have two actors here. Let's see. As reported by Variety, Swamp Thing will be played by two actors, Andy Bean of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I don't remember him in that, and I've seen all the episodes, but I imagine he must have been in it if that's what they said. And the upcoming It Chapter 2. And Derek Mears, who, it doesn't say, let me see. Derek Mears, who is best known for portraying the iconic killer Jason Voorhees in the 2009 reboot of Friday the 13th. So yeah, at a certain point they reboot all those horror franchises, don't they? Because I think they did the same thing with Freddy Krueger, and they did that with Jackie Earl Haley. Pretty much the last time we ever saw Jackie Earl Haley. I don't know what happened to him since then. Okay, so Andy Bean will take on the role of Dr. Alec Holland, the biologist who transforms into the elemental creature after working in the Louisiana swamp. The creature itself will be played by Derek Mears. So, again, I don't know a whole lot about these actors nor the character. He kind of looks. I'm talking about the guy on the right there. He kind of looks what you'd expect Swamp Thing to look like if he had prosthetics plastered all over his face. So it looks like a good choice to me. I don't know a whole lot about Swamp Thing. I think originally it was sort of a man trapped in the sort of mythical tree trunk sort of motif. I don't really know what they call that, but he's sort of like a trapped spirit. His spirit is trapped in you know botany, so to speak. But I think as the series went on, it was more that Swamp Thing had his own persona, and it was the sort of the creature that he'd become had swallowed up Alec Holland, and he was sort of Swamp Thing, and was not a man trapped anymore, and was not necessarily a man wanting to revert back to humanity, which is what I think the original movie is about. Like I said, I haven't seen the original movie in a long time. I'd like to see that original movie again. But yeah, I got to brush up on my Swamp Thing. I'll probably be able to give you more intelligent info once I've done that. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you interested in the Swamp Thing reboot series? I think it's fair to call it a reboot series. And will you be picking up a DC Universe in order to see it? Because uh, so far, I think all that's on there now is Titans. And it's getting kind of mixed reviews. People seem to be interested in it. I think the reactions have been generally positive by fans, although, it's another one of those grim, dark things. And of course, the Doom Patrol is also scheduled to spin off from Titans. So we got some interesting things to look forward to. I am not getting DC Universe yet. I'm going to wait until they actually have a couple series up there so I can have something worth the money. Although I can tell you right now, I'm not going to do the $75 year-long plan. I'm going to do it monthly because I'm probably only going to watch it for a month, maybe two tops, but that's it. I haven't gotten to Daredevil Season 3 yet, by that reckoning. So, I kind of just pop in and pop out of these streaming services. Streaming service is that the plural for services? I'm not sure. All right, let's jump over to the Disney side of streaming. We got the Disney side of things here with it's been officially announced now that the Loki series is a go, and Tom Hiddleston is signed to star in case there was ever any doubt, which I honestly can't see why Disney would do a Loki series without Tom Hiddleston. That kind of is the appeal, I think, is Tom Hiddleston. Let's see. Disney has revealed this week that it's planning to develop another live-action Star Wars series. Of course, this doesn't have anything to do with the topic at hand, but this is the article I'm reading from. In the middle of the press release detailing this new show was finally some confirmation that a Loki TV series is also in development for the Disney streaming service, which is now officially called Disney Plus. That's probably a smart move because we all know it's going to be probably 25% Marvel stuff, 25% Star Wars stuff, and I'm guessing 50% Disney related properties. I don't know, maybe new shows, cartoons for kids. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it, but it is sort of a sliced up pie. So I imagine this is, from the sound of it, a smart move, a smart thing to call it. Furthermore, we're assured that Loki, as we know and love him, Tom Hiddleston, is attached to it. Let's see. Bob Iger confirmed Disney Plus is assembling a live action series centered around a fan favorite character from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Loki, the God of Mischief, starring Tom Hiddleston. Let's see. A Loki TV project also strengthens rumors that Marvel is dialing back its Netflix series commitment in the wake of both Iron Fist and Luke Cage's cancellations. There have been reports that Daredevil Season 3 is also floundering in its recent ratings, so even that flagship Marvel series may not be safe at the streaming giant. I'm all for it. I say get rid of all the Netflix shows. Bring those casts over to a new showrunner here on Disney streaming, Disney Plus. Let them take a crack at it, and hopefully we can get a bit more Marvel Cinematic Universe feel. Because I don't like the way, again, here I'm going to go off on a tangent. I'm going to go off on a rant, but I don't like the way the Netflix series have been, and particularly that they don't feel like they're part of the MCU at large. Now that we got TV shows, arguably they're like mini series, I guess, but let's just call it series. Now that we got series on Disney Plus, let's take the Daredevil series and the Heroes for Hire series, stick them over on Disney Plus, give them a new coat of paint. They're supposedly going to have budgets that are rivaling the motion picture, so we can do Daredevil right finally. We could see the radar sense. We can have him jumping off buildings and swinging with a billy club. We can have him in a good costume, which I don't know. The red costume was all right. It was nothing to write home about. They probably could have tweaked that a little bit. And we can get that Heroes for Hire show on and make it a little more kid friendly and not about, you know, sentence incompleted. But, for the sake of it, I want to see these shows succeed. And I would like to see them succeed over on Disney Plus, which would, allow kids, allow families to be able to watch these shows and make them a little more accessible, at least as accessible as the MCU at large is. Okay, let's see. Disney Plus boasts 2 live action Star Wars series for definite, with a Winter Soldier and Falcon series in the works and a Scarlet Witch show also being lined up. So yeah, it looks like they're shaping up to, they're promising some pretty strong content here. I think they got a stronger case for your streaming buck if you're going to choose between them and DC Universe. I don't know. I would probably go with Disney Plus in that case. Even if we just discount the Star Wars stuff, which we'll get into in a minute. Don't jump ahead here like this article is trying to jump all over the place. This article writer is, I think, trying to get two two bylines in one or something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we got the Titan series that is dark and grim and all that crap. We got the Netflix series where Daredevil is watered down, and Iron Fist and Luke Cage have been somewhat underwhelming. I know I gave them fairly positive reviews, although I did admit that they both could have done better. But here we've got the honest to goodness characters from the MCU. We're going to give them some breathing room, some space to give us a good, look at a focus on them, because they haven't had a solo series, solo series of films, I mean. And we're going to give them some time, and we're going to spotlight them. That seems to be the most logical way to go, as Mr. Spock might say. Also, news, and I'm just going to mention this briefly because it's not really a big story, and we'll just keep Loki up for this. But apparently, the Russo brothers are saying that the Avengers 4, for lack of a better term, has a 3-hour cut right at this moment, with I forget which one. I didn't write this down in my notes because it's really only a sentence story, but one of the Russo brothers basically said the Avengers 4 cut is currently at 3 hours, and we'll see if that holds. So, take that for what it is. You can let me know what you think in the comments. Are you excited about these Disney Plus potential shows? What do you think about Avengers being 3 hours? I'm all for it. I've always said, in the old days, you used to have these big budget blockbuster movies that were 3+ hours long. Ben-Hur, Gone with the Wind, all that stuff. And they give you an intermission in the middle for people that don't want to sit there all that time and have to do their business and so forth. But I feel like if there's a story worth telling in 3 hours, tell it. You don't have to shorten it just because, some moviegoers got itchy feet and they don't want to sit there for 3 hours. I mean, most people sit there and binge a television show in an afternoon. You can't sit in a movie theater and watch what would be the equivalent of 3 episodes of a television series. So, and like I said, though, it has to be justified by the story. I mean, nobody wants padding just to make it feel epic. Like, oh, let's drag out every scene for 15 minutes in order to pad the runtime. Of course, nobody wants that, and that's wrong. But when you're dealing with basically every character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe appearing on screen, for their moment in the sun at least, I think you need 3 hours. I think 3 hours is a good way something good to shoot for. Maybe I would even go a little longer than that, a little over that, maybe 3 hours, 15 minutes, something like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we need 4 hours. I don't think 3.5 hours probably won't be needed. But yeah, 3 hours, maybe 3 hours plus. I'm all for it. I'm down for it. So let me know what you think in the comments below about that. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit now about. Let's get Tom Hiddleston's glorious image off the screen for a moment. We're going to talk about the Cassian Andor series. Yes, Cassian Andor. All right, from what little I've gleaned from this, the only thing we know for sure is that Diego Luna will reprise his role as Cassian Andor in a new live-action series for Disney. All right, let's take a look at this here. Disney announced today that it is developing a second live-action Star Wars show for its upcoming newly named streaming video platform Disney Plus, with actor Diego Luna reprising the role of Rebel Alliance spy Cassian Andor. Andor was a pivotal character in the 2016 standalone Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. He played one of the Rebel Alliance spies who helped transmit the plans for the Death Star to his compatriots before perishing, setting up the events of A New Hope. In the announcement, Luna noted that he's looking forward to reprising the character and that this new exciting format will give us a chance to explore this character more deeply. The show is the second live-action TV series destined for Disney's streaming platform. Earlier this fall, Lucasfilm announced The Mandalorian, a 10-episode series set in post-Return of the Jedi era. And we can talk more about that in a moment. But yeah, let's take a look at this. Cassian Andor. Now, I liked Rogue One, coming from someone that's hated Disney Star Wars, pretty much. I wasn't crazy about The Force Awakens. It was sort of forgettable entertainment. It was there, and I really wouldn't think about it again after I watched it. Last Jedi was horrible. There's just no way around it. It was horrible. Complete ruination of the character of Luke Skywalker. All the trying to defy expectations and so forth. I just can't think of a bigger disappointment than The Last Jedi in the entire Star Wars catalog. Then came Solo, which many felt was underwhelming. I liked it, but again, it sort of felt like movie of the week Star Wars. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of these films are going to feel that way because we're really just painting in the corners of a picture. And I felt that was a pretty accurate portrayal of young Han Solo and the whole, you know, um, the Han Solo world, the meaning of Chewbacca, Lando Calrissian. Somewhat disappointed in it, but not awful. A lot of people would say that. I mean, a lot of people that are not fond of Disney Star Wars would say that Rogue One was the best. I'm not sure. Now I like Diego Luna, and I liked the role, the character of Cassian Andor. I'm not sure really that he's the kind of character that you can spin a series off on. This is a little bit difficult for me to unpack. Let me try to explain. I think the strength of Rogue One was that it was quite frankly the Dirty Dozen of Star Wars. I think a greater comparison that I've made it several times is to Force 10 of Navarone. Force 10 from Navarone, of course, the Harrison Ford movie, Robert Shaw, where it's just like a Suicide Squad of soldiers goes down to blow up a bridge, and most of them are not expected to come back. Most of them don't come back. And I think that is what the strength of Rogue One was. I think in order to, in order to sort of recapture some of what was great about Rogue One, for one thing, you're going to need the whole cast. I think, it was the coming together of the characters. Jyn Erso obviously is not going to be involved in this because she didn't meet Cassian Andor until the movie Rogue One. So I don't know. Riz Ahmed is not going to be in it. Uh, Chewit, what's that actor's name? Donnie Yen. He's not going to be. I think you needed those characters because it was an ensemble piece. And I'm not sure that breaking it down to just Cassian Andor and trying to make him a big hero is, not to say that he's not a big hero, but not a spotlighted hero. I don't think he will work well that way. He is not a Han Solo or a, not to compare him to the Jedi with Luke Skywalker or something like that, but I don't know that you can focus on his exploits and still have him be the everyman that he was in Rogue One. So that's the twofold problem I have with it. On the one hand, I don't think it's going to be as interesting a show without the other characters, without other people that we came to love interacting with them. And I don't know if the character is strong enough. And again, this is not really a slight on Diego Luna. I liked his portrayal and I like the character, but I don't know that he's a character that is able to carry a series because we loved him so much that we need to see more of him, sort of like Han Solo. I mean, we love Han Solo. We're willing to see more of him as much as they'll give us. I don't know if Cassian Andor is that, which I think they're hoping that he is sort of this generation's Han Solo because he is sort of shady. He's even in that movie. That's part of the thing about his character was sort of the redemption arc that he was on. He'd done shady things. He was there to do the dirty job that nobody else really wanted to do. He was killing some of his own, people in order to protect the Rebel Alliance, the emerging Rebel Alliance. So I don't know. I mean, I'm going to be very willing to check this out whenever I do get Disney Plus. If I'm going to check out, obviously, the Scarlet Witch and Loki shows and everything, but I will definitely check this out. But I think they're going to have to win me over a little more, other than just saying, "Oh boy, Cassian Andor's back. Let's see what he's up to." It's kind of hard, also, when your when your protagonist is predicated on his death. And that's sort of what that whole film was all just leading up to them all dying. Spoiler alert. I don't really know that you can go back and say, remember that character that was in that one really cool movie and he did his bit and died? Well, this is what he was doing up to the point where he did his most important work, which was to do his bit and then die. How do you top that? You know what I mean? It's like, we're not talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's what I mean here. We're not talking about, well, Obi-Wan did his bit and then he died in front of Darth Vader. Well, there was much more of a story to tell with Obi-Wan. I mean, he trained Vader. Um, he trained Anakin, allegedly. I mean, we didn't know at that point, that Anakin and Vader were one and the same, but at least we knew that he was a Jedi Master. He trained Padawans. He was a great warrior. He was a general in the Clone Wars. That was something you could kind of go back on, that he was a storied individual in history. I don't really feel that with Cassian Andor. I don't know what they can do that would, show what kind of a very important character he was in the rebellion that was cut down in his prime. You know what I mean? It seemed like his biggest claim to fame was that he got the Death Star plans with Jyn Erso and the Rogue One squad. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think about the return of Cassian Andor? Are you excited? Are you going to watch it? Are you interested or not? Let me know. All right, and we got our final bit of business here. We're going to talk about the most recent information, I guess you want to say, the scuttlebutt, as it were, that the Boba Fett movie is scrapped. Boba Fett is now going to be slowly digested for the remainder of his 1,000-year sentence because they have completely foregone a Boba Fett movie. Let me take a look at the report here first before let's see. Reportedly, Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy told the Critics' Choice Association journalist Eric Weber at a Black Panther Awards reception that the Boba Fett movie was dead and that the priority is the series The Mandalorian. Confirmed today is that James Mangold is no longer attached to direct or write the Boba Fett feature. He is currently in a post on 20th Century Fox's Ford versus Ferrari, starring Christian Bale and Matt Damon, due out June 28th. Interestingly enough, the whole news about Disney reviving Boba Fett with Mangold broke a day before Solo, a Star Wars story, went off the rails, becoming a huge loss of a 392 worldwide box office take and 300 million production cost, and forcing the studio to reconsider how fast it would pump out Star Wars movies. Disney doesn't comment on Star Wars news and technically never greenlight a Boba Fett movie per se, but it always has projects in and out of development. Let's see. Previously reported, let's see. Josh Trank was originally picked to direct before there was the whole brouhaha over Fan Four Stick and difficulty working with him or so forth, and he was taken off the project. James Mangold was brought on; he was taken off the project. So that's what it looks like. And now, what do you think this has to do with the Mandalorian? That's the question, because we got the Mandalorian image up there. As previously reported, The Mandalorian will have several notable directors for each episode, including Star Wars, Rebels, Dave Filoni, Deborah Cho, director of Jessica Jones, Rick Famuyiwa, who did Dope. Not that he did Dope, but you know what I'm saying. And Bryce Dallas Howard, of course, a little nepotiz with Ron Howard directing Solo. And Taika Waititi. Oh, yes. He is coming into the Star Wars universe as well. All right. So the way this is sort of closely tied together is leading me to believe. I mean, let's put the clues together. Let's play Sherlock Holmes here, you and I. You can be my Watson. You could tell me brilliant Holmes, or you could tell me you're off your rocker. Let's take a look what's going on here. There's going to be a Boba Fett solo movie. And nobody really wants to say really what it's going to be about. All we know is that Boba Fett's going to get a movie. We don't know if it's going to be a prequel, if it's going to take place after Return of the Jedi. Nobody knows. Then we get Solo, a Star Wars story, which doesn't have Boba Fett in it at all, which, I can understand why, but I was kind of hoping that's where we'd see him, because I really don't need a Boba Fett solo so much as I just want to see Solo with Boba Fett, if you follow me. Then we find out that Solo underperforms to be as polite as possible. So plans are off the table for a Boba Fett movie. Just before that is announced, though, we are told that there is going to be a 10-episode series starring a Mandalorian, and the series is called The Mandalorian, who's dressed almost exactly like Boba Fett, and is a Mandalorian from the same planet and race or what have you as Boba Fett. And we find out that it takes place shortly after Return of the Jedi. Now, are all those wires connecting here so far? Elementary, my dear Watson. I believe that The Mandalorian is going to ultimately be about Boba Fett. I think it's going to be about his survival post Sarlacc pit. I think it's going to give fans what they've wanted for a long time, which is more time spent with Boba Fett. I mean, George Lucas tried to give us a little bit more, although, of course, he couldn't do a whole lot because Boba Fett was like 12 years old in the prequel era. Boba Fett survives. He's wearing similar costuming, maybe. There's a reason behind that. He doesn't want to be completely known as Boba Fett. Maybe he doesn't remember he's Boba Fett. We'll find out. But I'm going to go on record as saying that I think the arc of this story is going to be about the man with no name remembering his name. I think it's going to start as a mystery, and eventually we will find out that the Mandalorian in question is Boba Fett. That's at least what I hope is going to happen. I think there's two schools of thought. I think a lot of people are going to say either that's the case or that it's going to be a pretender. It's going to be someone that says he's Boba Fett to sort of gain notoriety as a bounty hunter and take the name of the best, which was Boba Fett. And I'm not even sure if maybe Lawrence Kasdan suggested this as a story, but then as the story goes on, we find out that the real Boba Fett is still alive and maybe in hiding and undercover, doesn't really want to be known that he's alive, finds out that someone is cashing in on his name, takes out that bounty hunter and resumes the mantle of Boba Fett because he ain't gonna let some pretender you know make money off his name, make him look bad. That would be just as good a story. I would like to see that as well if this is what that turns out to be. But yeah, your guess is as good as mine. Which one will turn out to be? Maybe it will be as they're trying to pretend it is, which is just a completely separate storyline having nothing to do with Boba Fett. I find that hard to believe. I think when you specifically say it's set a few years after Return of the Jedi, I think you're pretty much tipping your hand. I think if anything, that was the thing they should have held back on admitting, because if you're gonna just do a series about a Mandalorian, you could have set this during the Clone Wars. You could have set this, you know, whatever the sequel trilogy era is being called. Set it in that era. I mean, it's very interesting that they choose to set it after Return of the Jedi. All right, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited about the Mandalorian? Are you excited to find out that the Mandalorian might be Boba Fett? Do you think it's Boba Fett? Do you think my theory holds that maybe just possibly that's the reason why they canceled the Boba Fett movie? Maybe it was because Boba Fett's going to be in this, and then you can't tell a story twice. And they figured, kind of wisely, that they're not doing so good with the a Star Wars story movies, at least the last one. Maybe let's put Boba Fett's story on television, and you could always take it from there and put him in a solo sequel. We'll have to find out. We'll have to see. But let me know what you think in the comments below. And let's see. I don't have any other stories per se, but I did pick up this image, and I thought maybe we close the show on talking about this for a moment. We have the first image of, the first, authorized image of Superman and Lois Lane from the CW crossover this year called Elseworlds. And it looks like we get this like a rainbow effect from the crystals, because that is apparently the Fortress of Solitude. Elizabeth Tulloch, I believe, playing Lois Lane, and Tyler Hoechlin playing the Man of Steel himself, Superman. And yeah, they look good. They look good together. Like I said, I would really like to see a Superman television show done right like this. We went through Smallville, and it was a Superman show without Superman, and we went through. Now we've got the Metropolis show supposedly going to be in the works, where we have, I think Lois Lane and Luthor being the focus. Why can't we just have a Superman TV show? Why can't we? As I said before, I don't know. You can look at one of our previous shows where I went into this in detail, but could they just ruin it if they give us a Superman show at this juncture? I mean, Tyler Hoechlin's Superman seems to be old school Superman, and they're getting him right in the personality department, at least. I don't know. I don't really know if they could do Superman wrong. Is it possible to ruin Superman? I imagine so. I mean, the Zack Snyder movies weren't exactly what I was hoping for, but Let me know what you think. Do you want to see the Man of Steel in a CW series? Do you think that will happen? Probably not, I would say. I would hope it happens, but it has to be done well. It has to be done right. And this is a strange outfit she's wearing, though, I have to admit. I think they were trying to do a throwback to Margot Kidder's, like, blue evening gown or whatever you want to call that. This looks more like a hospital dress, you know what I mean? Like a hospital Johnnie, I guess they call it. I don't know. It's kind of strange looking, but his costume looks good. I'm getting used to the strange kind of cape clasps. That to me is the weirdest part of that, and the red belt. But of course, I miss the trunks. But I think it's only a matter of time. You're going to see the trunks return in some form. I don't see why they don't just color that portion of the suit red. It would look so much better, and it wouldn't look like he's wearing trunks. You know what I'm saying? If you just color that portion red, I mean, that's like Spider-Man's costume. It's a two-tone costume. I mean, he's got different colors running up and down his body. If you have like the red around that area of Superman's costume, it's going to look better than just having it all in blue. We're so, I think, accustomed to seeing the red in his costume that it just looks odd. And that's for some reason a problem that they've never managed to really successfully address with Superman. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you, thank you, thank you once again for joining me here for another Johnny Torch Live, episode 122, Torch News Roundup number 113, and I am going to try to bring you some more videos more often. There is so many videos that I want to make that I just haven't had time to make because I've been working on the book. I want to do a video focusing on the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon from beginning to end. We'll talk about all the characters. We'll talk about all the stories. We'll talk about the new issue that is going to be coming out before long. Also wanted to do some more ranking videos. I never got my Star Trek original series movies ranking list up. I might take some time to do that in the near future. I'm going to be checking out the Rocky movies while we are leading up to Creed 2. I'm going to be starting tonight with the original 1976 Academy Award-winning classic Rocky, written by Sylvester Stallone, directed by John J. Avildsen. And yeah, so I'm going to be probably doing a ranking video about that when I'm through with the entire series. I don't know if you can you really rank the Rocky series with Creed in it? Because it's really like two different focuses. Rocky's sort of like the guest star in Creed, but we'll probably do the ranking video once Creed 2 comes out, and we'll rank all the Rocky videos with Creed and Creed 2 included. I want you to like that smash button. Or is it smash that like button? I'm not sure. Do one of the other. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Much appreciated. God love you for watching the show, and it is always appreciated when you leave a comment below. I read them in the next subsequent episode. If you have a question as well, I'll be more than happy to answer it. Make sure you check out the links in the description below, as I mentioned earlier. And until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.